Welcome everyone. As you can see from the title of this presentation, we will be exploring the incredible diversity of invertebrate phyla. Together, we'll explore the fascinating world of sponges and learn more about their unique characteristics and evolutionary process. Let's jump right in and get started. Becoming familiar with different invertebrate phyla and their characteristics is the focus of this exercise. It will allow for an understanding of how animals interact with their environment and with one another, as well as the adaptations they have evolved to survive in particular habitats. Furthermore, this exercise will shed light on how animals contribute to the diversity of life on Earth. Sponges have existed since antiquity and still remain one of the most enthralling animal species. They have diverse shapes, sizes, and colors and can be found in most aquatic habitats. It is speculated that sponges evolved from colonial choanoflagellate protists, and their fertilization is conducted in the mesozoa. Although sponges were perceived as an offshoot of the evolutionary process, recent findings point to the possibility that they developed independently. Accordingly, the correct statement among the given choices is that sponges evolved from colonial choanoflagellate protists. Exploring animal diversity, we focus on calcareous sponges, a type of solitary sponge living in deeper parts of the sea. Distinguished by their body structure, which is simple, and the spicules that are formed by calcium carbonate, the correct combination when presented with the statement is I and 3. That is, calcareous sponges are solitary and the spicules are formed by calcium carbonate. Demaspongiae is the class of sponges comprised of marine species with skeletons composed of siliceous spicules, spongin fibers, or both. It is not limited to only colonial sponges. The correct combination is 2 and 3. Eupilctella is known as a glass rope sponge, Schelina is called deadman's finger, and Spongilla is referred to as the bath sponge. Additionally, different varieties of Hylonemma consist of 6 rayed siliceous spicules. It is important to differentiate between these species as the correct combination is 2 and IV, not I and 2, nor I and 3, nor 2 and 3. Sponges are indeed amongst the most captivating creatures on the planet. These multicellular creatures do not have any internal construction composed of tissues or organs. To survive, they rely on the zoocytes that store up reserve food, coupled with the choanocytes, totipotent cells, that allow them to suck up material and select the nutrients needed for their nourishment. This remarkable capacity of the sponge has made the answer to the correct combination of statements to be 2. Only 2 and 3 are correct. Sponges are remarkable organisms having a canal system that facilitates water circulation and filters food particles. Unlike other invertebrates, sponges lack nerve and sensory cells, making them comparatively simpler. Nonetheless, they do have a gastrovascular cavity. Therefore, the answer to the question is that only 2 and 3 are correct, I and 3 are not. Focus of this slide is on animal diversity I, specifically invertebrate phyla. Let's proceed to a matching exercise. Match list I with list 2. A. Archaeocytes. 3. Totipotent cells. B. The zoocytes. V. Storage of reserve food. C. Choanocytes. 2. Sperms. D. Pinacocytes. I. Body's outer layer. IV. Spicule formation does not have a match in list I. Mesoil is list I item 2, archaeocytes is list I item I, choanocytes is list 2 item V, and osculum is list 2 item IV. These items refer to the parts and functions of different animals. Mesoil acts as the supportive tissue for a coelenterate body, archaeocytes are amoeboid cells, choanocytes form the current that brings food to the animal, and osculum is the exhalant aperture of the organism. The correct answer is number 3. Correct combination for Hyalonema, Schelina, Eupultella, Euspongia and Spongilla is I, IV, 2, V, 3, 2, IV, 3 and V. I. Hyalonema is the freshwater sponge, Schelina is the glass rope sponge, Eupultella is the dead man's fingers, Euspongia is the Venus flower basket and Spongilla is the bath sponge. Correct combination of A, B, C and D is number 3. Parazoa is the evolutionary blind offshoot. There are Calcarea, which are marine and shallow water sponges. B are Demospongiae, which are marine and fresh water sponges. Lastly, C are Hexactinellida, which are marine and deep water sponges. Answer. Calcareous spicules are found exclusively in Calcarea, while marine, deep water and solitary sponges are found in Hexactinellida and Demospongiae, and both Hexactinellida and Demospongiae contain 6 rayed siliceous spicules. Examples of each class are Leucoxylenia for Calcarea, Hyalonema for Hexactinellida, and Spongilla for Demospongiae. Hence, the incorrect matching of spicules to classes is option 2, which implies that only Calcarea has calcareous spicules. Invertebrates encompass a vast array of animals, more than 80 separate phyla. Among these is Schelina, home to deadman's fingers or a certain kind of soft coral. Gurukulplex comprises the Venus flower basket, an interesting organism composed of silica. Euspongia represents the class of bath sponges. This slide poses the question of which of the three is not correct. The answer to this is all except 2, as the Venus flower basket is not a calcarean, which is what the answer implies. Exploring the animal kingdom, it is evident that a variety of invertebrate species belong to 3 phyla: Calcarea, Hexactinellida, and Demaspongiae. An example of Calcarea is Sypha, which is characterized by calcareous spicules. Hexactinellida is represented by Hyalonema, which is identified by its siliceous spicules. Demaspongiae, which has 6 rayed siliceous spicules and is represented by Leucoxylenia. Comparing the characteristics of these phyla, we can determine that option 2 is correct, Calcarea and Demaspongiae. To understand the complexities of the animal kingdom, it is important to look into each of these phyla to gain a comprehensive knowledge. The fourth option listed is inaccurate. None of class, habit, Psychon, Euplectella or Shalina are examples of solitary or colonial. All of these are individual species and not a grouping of species. Therefore, while solitary or colonial may describe some of the species listed, it is not an example of any of them. The correct order for the parts of the canal system of simple sponges is ostia, spongocoel, porocyte, osculum. Asserting that sponges are at the cellular level, the lowest level of organization within the kingdom Animalia, it can be inferred that true tissues are absent in sponges, as this level does not involve the complexity of tissues found in more developed organisms. Thus, both the assertion that sponges are at a cellular level and the reason that they lack tissues are true. Sponges possess the lowest level of organization in the animal kingdom, cellular, as different types of cells are isolated and don't form functionally similar and integrated groups of cells, referred to as tissues. This is supported by the reason that these cells are isolated and lack the formation of tissues. Sponges exhibit intracellular digestion, which is explained by the fact that the collar cells of sponges ingest food by the process of phagocytosis and then digest it. Both assertion A and reason R are true, with the reason providing an explanation for the assertion. Sypha is part of the class Calcarea, which contains organisms with a calcium carbonate exoskeleton. This is due to the presence of 6 rayed siliceous spicules, a characteristic of the class Calcarea. As such, both the assertion that Sypha is part of the class Calcarea and the reason for this are true, with the reason explaining the assertion. The evolution of sponges from the colonial choanoflagellate protists is an important intricate evolutionary process. This is supported by the resemblance between choanocytes of sponges, which have a collar, similar to choanoflagellates. This assertion and its explanation are true. We are discussing the invertebrate phyla of the animal kingdom. Looking at the 58th assertion that Hyalonema is included in the class Hexactinellida, it is true and the reason given is also correct, as Hyalonema does indeed possess 6 rayed siliceous spicules. Thus, the statement that the assertion and reason are both true and that the reason explains the assertion is the correct answer. This concludes our discussion about invertebrate phyla, and I would like to thank the audience for their attention.